You wake up early. You listen to the podcasts. You read the books. You say the affirmations. You're trying. You're really trying. But nothing's changing. There's a voice inside you asking a question that you don't say out loud. Why am I not further along by now? You feel like someone who's been digging for water in the desert, digging hard, digging daily, but never finding the well. And maybe you're starting to wonder, is there even water here at all? But growth, real growth, it doesn't come just because you try hard. It comes when effort aligns with understanding. When motion meets meaning. And most people never grow because they mistake activity for transformation. They confuse exhaustion with progress. They're moving, but they're not becoming. See, here's a hard truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your life right now is perfectly designed to give you the results you're getting. And if you're not growing, it's not because life is unfair. It's because your philosophy is flawed. Rohn said, if someone hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire very quickly. Because without the internal structure, the external reward slips through your fingers. Growth doesn't care how many motivational videos you consume. Growth demands that you build something real inside yourself. And that building starts with one word. Responsibility. Not the popular kind. Not the hustle culture version. The ancient kind. The kind that whispers, this is your life. And no one's coming to fix it but you. Most people don't grow because they keep outsourcing the inner work. They hope that reading enough books will overwrite the habits they refuse to confront. They pray that one day their motivation will beat their patterns. But life doesn't work like that. Discipline beats desire. Structure beats chaos. Character beats emotion. You can want it all you want. But if you're still running yesterday's operating system, you will keep crashing. Trying is not enough if the person trying is still a passenger in their own life. If you want to grow, you have to stop negotiating with the weaker version of you. The one that craves comfort. The one that says, I've done enough today. The one that collects reasons instead of results. Growth begins when you stop asking, what's the minimum I can get away with? And start asking, what would the strongest version of me do right now? Let's talk about habits. Not the glamorous kind. Not the morning routine you post on social media. The invisible ones. The ones you practice when nobody's watching. Because those are the ones shaping you. Most people never grow because they only change behavior in public. They upgrade their image, but not their identity. They chase peak performance, but ignore the low points that sabotage it all. Real growth happens when you bring your shadows into the light. When you say, this thought pattern is keeping me small. This habit is robbing me of momentum. This excuse sounds smart, but it's costing me my future. You can't plant seeds of greatness in soil you refuse to till. You can't build a future in a mind full of weeds. And weeds don't care if you're trying. They grow anyway. So ask yourself, are your daily actions planting something you'll be proud to harvest? Or are you watering distractions and calling it growth? Growth is not about doing more. It's about becoming more. And becoming more requires you to change the contract you have with yourself. See, most people operate on a contract of convenience. I'll show up when I feel like it. I'll push harder if the mood is right. I'll keep going unless it gets uncomfortable. But the people who grow, the ones who transform their lives from the inside out, they live by a contract of character. I show up because I said I would. I train because my future demands it. I rise, not because it's easy, but because I refuse to stay the same. You want to know why you're not growing, even though you're trying? Because trying is still optional in your world. But transformation? It demands a non-negotiable version of you. The truth is, growth hurts. And that's why most people avoid it. They'll do anything but face themselves. They'll distract, delay, justify, numb, pretend. But they won't look in the mirror and say, I am the reason I'm stuck. But that's the beginning of growth. The moment you stop blaming the world and start building your own. Because growth isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. You don't get stronger by wishing for less weight. You get stronger by training under the burden and rising anyway. It's not about adding more to your life. It's about removing what's keeping you small. The old stories. The broken standards. The false identities you've outgrown but keep dragging with you like dead weight. You want change? You want growth? Burn the blueprint that kept you safe and build the one that makes you dangerous. And here's the part most people miss. Growth is not an event. It's not a weekend seminar. It's not a burst of motivation. It's a way of living. It's showing up every day with a quiet fire in your chest that says, I owe it to the person I could become to not waste this life. And it doesn't always look inspiring. Some days, growth looks like getting out of bed when your excuses sound reasonable. Some days, it's saying no to the temporary comfort that's been stealing your destiny. Some days, it's sitting in silence and finally facing the truth you've been avoiding. Growth doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for honesty, and consistency, and grit. Because you don't become strong by talking about strength. You become strong by walking through the fire again and again and not backing down. So if you've been trying, but you're not growing, ask yourself this. Am I acting from the identity of the person I want to be? Or am I clinging to the patterns of the person I used to be? Am I repeating days that feel productive? Or building a future that demands evolution? Growth is not about checking boxes. It's about changing your being. You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when your values are tested and you choose them anyway. You grow when you fall short and still come back with more resolve. You grow when you stop proving and start becoming. This is your life. You only get one. And the clock isn't pausing because you're procrastinating. So the question is no longer, why am I not growing? The real question is, when will I finally become the person I was meant to be? Not someday. Not next week. Now. Because you don't get to become your future self later. You build that person with every choice you make today. So stop waiting. Stop trying. And start transforming. Because transformation is not something that happens to you. It's something you create, intentionally, painfully, and repeatedly. It's forged in the fire of self-honesty and kept alive by discipline. You don't drift into greatness. You decide into it. And the decision isn't loud, it's not some public declaration with fireworks and fanfare. It's quiet. It happens in the small moments when no one's watching. When you choose action over excuse, responsibility over blame, integrity over image. That's the hard path. But it's the only path that leads to a life worth living. You want to grow? Then it's time to stop treating your life like a rehearsal. There is no next time. There is no second draft. This is the story. This is the chance. And the only way it ends differently is if you write it differently. Growth doesn't ask you to be perfect, but it demands that you be committed. It doesn't care how many times you've fallen, only that you keep rising. It doesn't ask, have you figured it out yet? It asks, are you willing to become the kind of person who eventually will? Because when you raise your standards, your life has to follow. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. Because results are always a reflection of roots. And when the roots grow deep, the fruit always comes. So let me ask you now. What do your roots look like? Are they shallow, chasing quick validation and easy rewards? Or are they grounded in principle, in patience, in discipline? In the kind of character that can carry the weight of real success? You don't build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. And you can't build a meaningful life on a foundation of shortcuts and compromise. You have to dig. You have to break ground. You have to face what's ugly, what's weak, what's been hiding. Because that's where the growth is. in the digging, in the honest work. Growth is not about finally feeling ready. It's about moving forward even when you don't. Because the readiness never comes first. The clarity, the confidence, the power you're waiting for, they all come after you start. Stop trying to feel your way into action. Start acting your way into a new feeling. You want confidence? Earn it. You want clarity? Move through confusion. You want mastery? Show up like an amateur until you're not one anymore. This is the path. This is what real growth looks like. Not the highlight reel. Not the perfect plan. But the person who refuses to quit, who keeps showing up, even when it hurts, even when it's slow, even when it feels invisible. Because transformation doesn't announce itself. It whispers. In the middle of ordinary days. In the middle of unseen efforts. And one day, you look up, and you're no longer who you were. So the next time you say, I'm trying, ask yourself, am I really trying, or am I rehearsing effort without committing to change? And the next time you ask, why am I not growing? Remember this. Growth doesn't come to those who try hardest. It comes to those who take responsibility and never give it back. You don't need another book. You don't need another guru. You don't need another video. You need one decision. To become the kind of person who doesn't stop at trying. Who becomes unavailable for average. Who refuses to return to the old version of themselves. Who rises, not because it's easy, but because the alternative is no longer acceptable. This is the moment. This is the call. Not to do more, but to become more. To build a character so solid, a mindset so sharp, a soul so grounded, that nothing external can shake who you are. You've tried. Now it's time to transform. And that begins the second you stop waiting. And start becoming. Because becoming is not something you achieve. It's something you embody. It's not a destination, it's a devotion. A way of living. A way of showing up to life every single day, not with arrogance, but with alignment. Alignment with your values. Alignment with your purpose. Alignment with the vision of who you could be if you stopped letting your potential rot in excuses. You want to feel alive? Stop chasing comfort. Comfort is the slow death of every dream you've ever had. It seduces you with ease, but robs you of meaning. And the truth is, you don't need more comfort in your life. You need more courage. The courage to face the parts of yourself that you've kept hidden. The courage to tell the truth about your laziness, your fear, your inconsistency, without judgment, but also without excuses. The courage to walk into the unknown with faith that growth will meet you there. Because here's the secret no one wants to say out loud. You already know what to do. You just haven't become the kind of person who does it. Yet. That word, yet, is where the hope lives. It's where the story turns. Because growth is not about what you've done. It's about what you're becoming willing to do. You haven't failed because you're behind. You fail only when you choose to stay there. Stuck in the cycle of knowing, but not applying. Wanting, but not changing. Trying, but never becoming. But you don't have to live like that. You can wake up today and draw a line in the sand. You can say, this version of me dies today. And you can bury the excuses, the procrastination, the self-doubt, right there in the dirt. Because when you let the old you die, the new you finally gets to live. So rise. Not with noise, not with hype, but with resolve. Quiet. Steady. Relentless. Because this is not about motivation. It's about identity. This is not about trying harder. It's about becoming different. Discipline isn't just about routines, it's about who you are when it's inconvenient. Responsibility isn't about blame, it's about power. And success is not some prize you chase. It's a natural byproduct of living in alignment with truth. Your truth. Not someone else's dream. Not someone else's timeline. but your inner compass, your inner calling. That voice that keeps whispering, you're meant for more. So stop shrinking. Stop waiting for permission. Stop begging the world to believe in you when you haven't fully believed in yourself. Own your mind. Own your time. Own your habits. Own your life. And when the resistance comes, and it will, you'll meet it not with fear, but with fire. Because this time, you're not trying. You're becoming. And once you become the kind of person who grows no matter what, no one can take that from you. Not failure. Not fear. Not the past. Not the world. This is your turning point. And it doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be decisive, because the truth is, your life is always under construction. But most people, they stop building. They decorate the foundation and call it a mansion. They polish the shell and call it success. But you're different. You're not here for decoration. You're here to build something that lasts. A mind that can withstand chaos. A character that doesn't fold under pressure. A spirit that doesn't break when life gets hard. A set of values that anchors you when everything around you shifts. Because everything external is temporary. The status, the likes, the applause, the image. But what you become, that's eternal. Look at your habits. They are not random. They are not meaningless. They are the architects of your future. Every moment you choose discipline over delay. Responsibility over reaction. Purpose over pleasure. You're casting a vote for who you'll be tomorrow. And no, it won't be easy. But nothing of value ever is. Easy creates regret. Hard creates results. You were not made to be comfortable. You were made to be capable. Capable of becoming more than your circumstances. Capable of outgrowing your past. Capable of rising when most people retreat. So stop asking for lighter burdens. Start asking for stronger shoulders. Because life isn't going to give you a guarantee. It gives you time. And what you do with that time. How you use your minutes, how you honor your mornings, how you treat the work no one sees. That is what separates the dreamers from the doers. You don't need to move fast. You just need to move deliberately. With intention. With focus. With a quiet kind of fire that never burns out, because it was never about motivation. It was about mission. And if you keep showing up, not when it's convenient, but when it matters most, you'll wake up one day and realize you became the very person you once thought was impossible. You didn't get there by wishing. You didn't get there by waiting. You got there by becoming. Because when you stop trying to change your life and start changing your standards, everything shifts. And that's the ultimate truth most people never grasp. You don't get what you want. You get what you are willing to become. And once you become unstoppable, nothing can stop you. So now the question is no longer, how do I change? The question is, who must I become so that change is no longer temporary? Because this world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards consistency. It rewards the person who wakes up every day and does what they said they would do, long after the feeling they made the decision in is gone. That's not motivation. That's identity. That's integrity. And when your identity is built on truth, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You don't crumble in the storm. You become the storm. You don't avoid discomfort. You walk through it with calm eyes and a clear conscience. You don't beg the world to believe in you. You prove yourself with action, over and over and over again. Because the world doesn't need another dreamer. It needs builders. People willing to pay the price of becoming. People who don't just talk about change. They are the change. So when people ask you, what happened? How did you grow so much? You'll smile. Not because you finally arrived, but because you finally understood. You realize that growth doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from doing what's required. And what's required is already inside you. It's in the way you show up when no one's watching. It's in the choices you make when it would be easier to coast. It's in the relentless refusal to go back to the old you. That's what separates people who grow from people who wish they did. So take this moment, not as another piece of content, not as another temporary spike of inspiration, but as a declaration that you will no longer wait. You will no longer shrink. You will no longer betray your future for the comfort of your past. Because now you see it clearly. This is not about how hard life gets. It's about how unyielding you become. From this moment forward, there are no more rehearsals. No more halfway living. No more maybe one day. Today, you become the kind of person who grows. Not just once. Not just when it's convenient. But forever. Because the path of growth is not an event. It's a way of life. And once you walk it, you never go back.